suppose that most other freelance and solo developers have the same problem. When should I allocate most time of my day coding? Is it in the morning? Is it in the afternoon? Is it at night? Is it before lunch? Is it after lunch? So I've been wondering about this question myself, because sometimes I can get a whole app done in a single morning, and other times I sit in front of the computer and can't get anything done for a whole afternoon. So how do we tackle this? So what I'm wondering is, when am I most likely to get into this flow state where I just can code and get stuff done? And second, how can I stay in this state? First things first, what even is developer productivity and how do you measure it? I think if I could give corporations the answer to this problem, they would shower me in money. It seems like kind of a mystery of the modern world. What do devs do all day? When has it been productive? The non-technical PM is kind of lost in every sprint meeting. They could tell him anything. So what is developer productivity and how do we measure it? I think a big problem is that the incentives in a corporate are a bit skewed. Usually corporate workers want to work as little as possible for as much money as possible. So you would always say, yes, I was very productive, or I worked a lot to make your product manager happy. So that's why I think to find it out, we start with a person that is more intrinsically motivated and just wants to get the most out of the code. Yeah, like a freelance or a solo developer like myself. I'm trying to be honest with myself, and this, I think, without the skewed interests of a corporate developer, we can get closer to the issue of developer productivity and how you can maybe find out how to measure it. So, what are our two goals? First of all, find the most productive hours of the day, so that I can say, usually I'm most productive between 10 and 1 and schedule my day around this. And second, detect when I'm in a flow state, so when everything is really going nicely, the ideas are flowing, and adapt my environment to it, so I stay in this state as long as possible. Those are our two goals. Let's tackle it. I think it's a bit easier to measure developer productivity than, let's say, productivity for another job, because a lot of it, at least if you're building websites and apps, is happening inside of one application. So in my case, this is VS Code. So we're going to collect data from there. This means we're going to collect lines of code, characters, files added, files deleted, also commits to GitHub and pulls and all kind of actions. I know that many corporates try to measure it by saying, yeah, lines of codes you've written, the goal is to write 2,000 lines of code in this month, then you're a good developer, which is of course flawed. More code is not necessarily better, and sometimes you just have a hard problem, so you don't write too much code. So how do we do this better? Here's the trick. As we collect data, we will periodically ask how productive the last, let's say, 10 minutes were. And what this gives us is a huge data set of characters, lines, commits, deleted, and so on, along with a productivity score for this data. And I hope that if we throw this whole thing at a machine learning model, or maybe even just a simple regression in the beginning, we will actually be able to find out which patterns are generally leading to more productive hours, and are then able to track this. If I have labeled this data, it's very personal to me, so maybe productive 10 minutes are different for me than for you. But we can also try then to take this data set and apply it to other people and see if it's the same for everyone. I think what makes sense if we compare front-end developers to front-end developers in the first batch. So, and if we find some relationship from the KPIs we collect to productivity, then we're going to be able to actually predict flow states. So as I'm working, VS Code and maybe myself as well will notice, hey, this is a productive state you're in. And then you can do cool stuff like mute the notifications, maybe even set the lights in your home to a specific lighting, and adapt the music, put a blocker in the calendar. So really, once this flow state is detected, do everything to minimize distractions to keep it as long as possible. And then of course, secondly, as I'm using this tool, we should get more and more data on when my more productive slots are, and if this changes from day to day or if it's always the same. So our MVP is already running and collecting data. So next week we hopefully already have more insights, and I'm going to share them with you here.